Hi guys, I'm Alexandra. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving Day weekend. So today I'm going to be talking to you about slopers in my sloper journey. I put a question in the community tab earlier this week and I said, have you ever made a sloper? Yes. No, what the heck is that? And a lot of people have checked off no. So I suspect many of you may not know what a sloper is. So I'm going to start with that. So a sloper is a fitting shell with very little ease, and it has no design to it. Okay, so think of a bodice, a skirt, sleeves, it comes up to your neck. It's fitted. It's not tight. It is fitted. Okay. And it doesn't have any designs. So maybe no V-necks, no ruffles, no flounce. It's just plain Jane fitting shell. And the big four, they all have fitting shells. And I told you guys that I had purchased one, but I had to return it because the fitting shells from all the big fours are just one size. So you buy size 18 or size 10 or size whatever. And I had bought, I think I had bought a Butterick fitting shell, and it was size 22, and I had to return it because I have told you guys I've started working out a little bit extra and I have been losing some weight. So that fitting shell, that pattern no longer, it was just too big. I would love it if they had multi-size, but they've been making these fitting shells for quite some time and they don't. It would be awesome to get a multi-size, right? Because we're all a little different shaped, and maybe a bust is one measurement, waist is one measurement, and hips is another measurement. So you can kind of grade things. So that is a sloper. So it's a bodice fitting shell and it's got your own measurements, okay? You can go about making a sloper a couple of different ways. So you can grab one of those fitting shell patterns from the big four and make measurements and go at it. You can also do a lot of math and draw one from scratch, or you can also drape one on yourself. And I had told you guys back in September that I had taken a class on how to drape a sloper. And we did. It was a fantastic class. And I believe I'm going to link up that video above. I think it's a pattern haul and also an explanation on my draping class. The class was wonderful. I learned a lot. But the premise for that class at the end of the day was really the teacher wanted us to purchase a dress form, a very expensive and pricey dress form, which I don't even think he sold any on that day. And if he did, it's wonderful that he did, but he didn't. I don't think he did. They're very pricey. And, you know, afterwards you go back and you can get one, but I didn't get one because I just don't use a dress form that way. I have one. I have a cheap dress form that it's just something that I can just hang a garment and take a picture of it. It's got no measurements. There's no function to this thing. I don't even think this fits my daughter. So anyways, that's 3 ways that you can make a fitting shell. So I actually made one on myself. So I draped this on myself, and if you kind of guys see the marker, right, and kind of like put where my apex is at. So I made that for myself. And a fitting shell does not have seam allowances. It has 0 seam allowances, right? Because you just kind of want to get this. And I will get to why you don't need seam allowances later on. Or you shouldn't have seam allowances, but I got this done, right? But I got that done, but then I also went about it using some polymer pletish, and I never know if I'm pronouncing that right, so I'm sorry right off the get-go. But I went ahead and used this pattern to make a fitting shell for myself. And I know I've been dragging my feet on this because I knew it was going to take a long time, and it took a long time. It took a long time. It took a whole weekend, okay? It took a long time. It took a whole weekend, and there was a lot of adjusting, cutting, taping, cutting a muslin, adding seam allowances, you know, sewing it, and then putting it on. So it was not a quick sew. And there's usually certain types of adjustments that I usually have to make to patterns. And you guys know I sew a lot of knits. And if you haven't figured why I sew a lot of knits, it's because I don't have to make that many adjustments, right? I have no bust darts. I have no waist darts. I have no back darts, because a knit just stretches over your body and voila, you are done. But with wovens, it's a different story, and I wanted to start sewing with more wovens. There's a lot of beautiful fabrics out there that I wanted to start looking at. So it just meant that my usual measurements no longer work. So okay, now I have to make myself a sloper yet again. So it took a while, took a whole weekend, and I have posted a picture of Instagram as to what my pattern piece for my bodice looked, and I'll pull it out and I'll show it to you guys. It looked like a dog chewed it. Okay, like a dog chewed it, and then I tried my best to just tape that sucker because I made that many adjustments to that pattern piece. So if you you can get a fitting shell if you want to, but Palmer Pletish has some amazing patterns, and this is one of them. There is their classic pattern, which is this, and this is what usually they use. They also have fitting classes, and I believe there's one in Michigan and one in Washington, and I don't recall from the top of my head, but I'll probably put a link to their website so you guys can see. You can actually go and take an actual class, and they will help you fit this pattern. And it takes about like 2 days. I think the class is 2 to 3 days. So again, it's not a one-time slam dunk. It takes a while because we are all a little different. So I use this pattern. And I also use, and these patterns have been reissued under Butterick, and I put those on my website. I put a picture of both of them so you guys can go and take a look at that. And I also use their complete fitting guide book. And guys, I'm gonna tell you a little secret. If you do not want to buy a book outright and you are in the United States, most of you would have a library nearby. And if your library does not have the book, you can actually request your library to invest and purchase that book for you. So there's a little something about that. And a lot of the sewing books, before I invest in one of them, guess what? I have my library purchase it for me. I spend some quality time with the book, and then I will find out, okay, well, yeah, I do want to invest in this book. And I know that the library eventually, our local library here interchanges the books between all the network of libraries. So it's kind of nice. So it's like, okay, they purchase a book from my library, but they exchange it everywhere else. So back to this. So I use that book and I use that pattern, and I created a bodice front, a bodice back, and I also created a sleeve. And I told you guys, I always have to do a bicep adjustment. There's just no getting around it. So I'm gonna put a picture of the pattern. And again, I use this, right? And I worked just on the bodice. And this does have a design, but it fits the needs of what I wanted to. And I'll tell you guys what happened later on. So I worked on that right? And it looks like this. That looks like the front. So see how, yes, it's, you know, the muslin is moving a little bit because, right, I have to take a picture of myself and whatnot. And there's the sides where the darts point to my apex, which is the highest point on your bust, which is also known as the nipple, guys. So there it is. So I created that. So why did I want to create that, right? So you want to create that sloper because now I can grab any pattern, any woven pattern, right? And I can compare my sloper, which is this little item right here, right? And I can undo the seams and I can compare that to the other pattern piece from another different pattern and make any corrections right away. What do I mean? I'm gonna show you. I made another dress. So I made this dress. This was my next project that I've been working on. So I making this dress, and I'm going to show you a picture of my dress. So I made that dress and it was fairly quick. And you guys know why? Because I grabbed my good old sloper and I put it on top of that other pattern bodice piece. And I knew immediately what adjustments I had to make. Usually my adjustments are, I have to lengthen the bodice about sometimes 5/8 of an inch or an inch. I have to grade, I have to add a little bit of width to my waist. And I usually have to lower my bust darts between 1 to 2 inches, depending on the pattern, but it's usually around 2 inches. So the beauty of a sloper is that you make all of those adjustments. So perhaps if you have to move your bust dart, if you have a sway back, if your back is, you have a rounded back, you do all of that on that fitting shell, on that sloper. And when you go to another pattern, you can pull that out and compare it with that other pattern, and you know right away what measurements you have to make. Let me show you the design table. All right, guys, so I went ahead and undid my little sloper, and this is the sloper, the bodice front. And remember, I use this pattern, right? So it has this lapel, but don't worry about that. And now, look at this. Remember, I have that lapel, right? And this pattern piece is from this, right? It has a little bit more here by the sleeve, but look at the darts. So that's why you do a sloper. So if you have any other pattern, you can just grab it and put it on top of it, and you know what adjustments you have to make. In my case, I believe I added 5/8 of an inch just to lengthen the bodice on the lengthen and shorter line. And I knew that that would, remember I told you guys, I usually have to lower the bust dart. So once I lengthen and shorten it right there, my bust dart is right where it needed to be. So that is why you should take some time and do a sloper. All right, so that is why you do a sloper. So that's reason number one. And I heard about slopers from the Sew It Academy. They have a course that is just on how to make your own sloper using math. They are awesome if you are a beginner sewing. It's awesome. They walk you guys, they hold you by the hand, and they really teach you about sewing. But they do have a sloper class. It's wonderful. It's taught by, I believe that one is taught by Mimi. And then they have another class with Trisha. And she owns Creative Costume Academy. And you can also hire her. There's a class on her website. And I linked all of these on my site. She also has a link on her website, and she will show you how to make a sloper. I have not taken the class, I just know it's there. Or you can also go to good old YouTube and you can learn how to make a sloper using math, right? So there's different ways that you can go about doing a sloper. You can use math, you can use a fitting shell pattern, that's 2, or 3, you can drape it, right? Like I took my class on draping a sloper on a dress form, and you can create one for yourself. I don't have a dress form. I'm not getting one anytime soon. And obviously I am sewing here alone. So it's not like I have a sewing BFF that can help me drape it on my body. And also I think it would hurt a little because you got to pin yourself, right? So I did it on my own and it worked, but it's not quite accurate. And that's why I use that pattern. So next thing, you use a sloper for something else. And the something else is really the sugar coating on why you spend the time doing this. But I will talk about that next week because it is, this video is getting a little long. Guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And also, if you found this video useful, please consider making a small donation to my Ko-fi account. I will see you guys next week. And I hope you do consider making a sloper. Again, it's not something that will take you 5 minutes. It does take a little time, but I think it is a very useful thing. And next week, I'm going to tell you reason number 2 why you should have one. See you next time.